there was a pretty interesting and amusing response to the last video I did about Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. The video was titled Amir Khan Ducks Kell Brook Yet Again. Now Khan's a very divisive figure in the world of boxing, particularly in the UK. He has a massive amount of detractors, some of which are very biased against him, and they'll criticize him no matter what, whether he's in the right or in the wrong. But he also has a large contingent of followers, some of which are very fanatical and just as biased, but in this instance biased for him rather than against him, and they will defend him whether he's in the right or in the wrong, regardless. And a large section of the fanatical Khan supporters decided to descend on the comment section of that last video I did, and they were making their feelings known, calling me a hater, this, that, and the other, saying I didn't get my facts right, so on and so forth. Now, one of the things that they were saying is that Khan earned a hell of a lot more money in his last fight than Kell Brook earned against Triple G. This may be true, but that's not purely down to Amir Khan's pulling power. That's down to the fact that Khan fought the biggest draw in boxing at the moment, or certainly one of the biggest draws in boxing at the moment, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo is a much bigger draw than Triple G is. If Kell Brook had fought Canelo in the United States, like Khan did, I'm telling you now, Kell Brook would have made way more money than he made against Triple G as well. So, yeah, Khan made a lot of money in his last fight, but most of that was down to Canelo. I'm not denying the fact that Khan is internationally more well-known than Kell Brook. I concede that point. I do think he is. But I don't think Khan is as big as he believes he is. And in the words of Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? When was Khan's last big win? What was he really done lately? The best win of his career was Marcus Maidana. How many years ago was that? What's he done lately? His last few fights were Chris Algieri. I think in the previous video I said it was Devon Alexander. Well, that just goes to show how insignificant some of Khan's fights are. I forgot that he even fought Algieri in his last fight. Yeah, he fought Chris Algieri. He didn't look impressive against Algieri at all. Look what Errol Spence did to Algieri. Look at what Manny Pacquiao did to Algieri. Pacquiao didn't stop him, but he beat the crap out of him. Dropped him God knows how many times. Spence just walked straight through him. Whereas Khan struggled very badly with Chris Algieri. A non-puncher. He made Chris Algieri look like George Foreman in there. The way that he had Algieri walking him down. Right? So how much was Khan earning for the Algieri fight? How much was he earning for the Devon Alexander fight? I'm telling you, he wasn't earning crazy money for those fights. So is Khan really a massive draw like that? I don't think he's the big draw that he thinks he is, or that a lot of his fanatical supporters seem to think he is. Yes, he's a bigger draw than Brook, but I don't think he's a 70-30 bigger draw than Brook. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, that's just my view. I'm being objective here. I'm not a Khan hater. I'm not a Brook hater. I speak the truth on both of them as I see it. I've been telling you that it looks as though Kell Brook is trying to avoid the Errol Spence fight. So I'm not here to champion Kell Brook and defend him no matter what and ignore his indiscretions. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to speak the truth about both these fighters. But the way that I see it, Khan don't want the Kell Brook fight right now. Now, there is an interesting interview, an IFL interview with Eddie Hearn, and he goes into detail about what took place with these latest negotiations with Team Khan. And he said it was a very short meeting. It lasted about 5 minutes. Khan's team said they wanted 70-30, and Eddie Hearn said he wants 50-50 for Kell Brook versus Khan. Some people were telling me in the comment section of my last video that Kell Brook would not be the champion if he fought Amir Khan. Well, I don't yet have clarification. Again, I always say in most of my videos, if you've got any more details, if you've got any more information, which I'm not privy to, because look, people, I do dozens and dozens of videos a month. So I'm not going to know every single detail about every single situation. I always appeal to my audience for extra information if you have it, so we can all share information, and this channel can be a forum, a source, a pool of information where we all, whatever information we have, we all pool it together. I give what information I have in my videos, and subscribers who have any more info post info in the comment section, links, so on and so forth. So anyway, some people were saying that if Khan was to fight Brook, which the proposed date was May, the proposed month for him to fight would have been this May. If Khan was to fight Brook, Brook would not have had his title because he's supposed to fight Errol Spence next. So Khan would essentially be going 70-30 with a guy who don't have a title. Now, I don't know if the 70-30 is only for the May date or the 70-30 is for Kell Brook full stop. Will they budge on that particular split if Kell Brook was able to beat an Errol Spence, and then later on in the year Kell Brook still has the title? Would Khan still be willing? Would Khan still want 70-30, or would he be willing to bring the split down? It's possible he would. Maybe he'd bring the split down a bit. Maybe he go 60-40. Maybe he go 45-55. It remains to be seen. But the main thing which sticks in my mind about this latest situation in this long saga between Brook and Khan is that Khan has moved the goalpost so many times. He originally said to Kell Brook, look, if you win a title, I'll fight you. Brook won a title. Khan still didn't fight him. He kept moving the goalposts and adding different criteria. He said, if you fight a big name, then I'll fight you. Well, he went and fought Golovkin, and Khan still he's still not very keen on the fight. So if I was a member of Team Brook, I wouldn't really trust Khan. Let's say Khan says, okay, go and fight Errol Spence, because I'm not going to go. I've actually seen Khan say that he's not really interested in the Kell Brook fight if Brook don't have a title. If he has a title, then yeah, he'll look at the fight, but he's not really interested otherwise. So let's say Brook beats Spence, beats him emphatically. Later on in the year, offers Khan to fight again. Is Khan going to add another caveat? Is he going to say, well, I still want 70-30, or I want this, or I want that? I mean, when is it going to end with Khan? He just seems to have a personal beef with Kell Brook, and I don't know, there's just some type of issue there. Khan himself has said in recent weeks that he's not ready for a Danny Garcia or a Keith Thurman next. He would need a tune-up fight in the meantime. And just to show you some of the ridiculous things that Khan says from time to time, he said that he views Kell Brook as a tune-up fight to get him prepared for a Keith Thurman or Danny Garcia. Now, you can't tell me that's not ridiculous. Kell Brook is on the same type of level as Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia. In my view, in terms of ability, he's on that same kind of level. I'm not saying he's necessarily better than those guys, but he's there or thereabouts. He's in the same ballpark as those guys. So you can't tell me Kell Brook is a tune-up fight for Khan. That's ridiculous. Khan's coming off a knockout defeat. So it's understandable that he would want a tune-up fight because he's coming off a terrible knockout defeat, a long layoff. He's put on quite a bit of weight. He's had this hand injury. And there has to be psychological scars from that Canelo loss. I know Khan is very strong mentally and he's been knocked out before and come back. But I don't care how strong you are, particularly when you suffer such a devastating KO defeat as he suffered against Canelo, it has to leave scars on your psyche. So it's understandable that Khan would want an easier first fight coming back. And since he's been offered this Brook fight, as Eddie Hearn has said in the IFL interview, Khan's probably thinking, you know what, unless they're offering me crazy money to fight Kell Brook next, then I'm just going to go ahead and fight a softer opponent, because it's not worth the risk coming back off an injury and a long layoff and a knockout defeat and so on and so forth. So yeah, unless it's a 70-30, I'm not even going to entertain that fight right now. Perhaps that's what Khan is thinking, despite his rhetoric saying that Kell Brook is actually a tune-up level fight. You can't really believe that deep down, or maybe he does. He gets accused of being delusional a lot. So yeah, those are my thoughts, people, just to clarify the situation. Again, you want to talk about Khan's earning power. How much did he earn against Devon Alexander and Chris Algieri? Maybe some of you guys have got those figures. Well, drop the figures in the comment section below, because I'm telling you, he wasn't earning crazy money for those fights. Yeah, he wasn't. But again, I'll criticize Kell Brook too. Brook is looking for every reason to not fight Errol Spence. Eddie Hearn has been very honest, really, about the fact that he doesn't want the Spence fight. He blatantly don't want it. I know Kell Brook has recently said that he don't feel motivated to fight Errol Spence, but Eddie Hearn is blatantly saying, I don't want Kell Brook to fight Spence. Maybe not in as many words, but that's what he's insinuating, because he keeps saying he wants Kell Brook to move up to 154. But yet, in the next breath, he's saying he wants Kell Brook to fight Amir Khan, and that's going to be at 147. So, you know, he's contradicting himself there. Basically, what he's saying is he don't want the Errol Spence fight for Kell Brook. Yeah. He don't think it's the risk reward is there for that particular fight. But I don't know. I'm not sure it's even the right idea for Kell Brook to go up to 154 at this point. I think he might be better off fighting Errol Spence than going up to 154. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is just what I'm thinking in my head, because at 154, the names are not as big as the names at 147. And they are arguably just as difficult of fights, if not more difficult. I mean, you got the Charlo brothers, who some people don't rate, some people do, but they're both huge guys at 154. Jamal particularly can really punch. Then you've got Erislandy Lara, who is very slick and awkward. Nobody wants to fight him, because even if you beat him, you're going to look terrible. And these are not big names, and these are guys who I don't think would be willing to travel to the UK. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have my doubts that those guys would actually travel for some reason. Maybe Lara a push, but I don't know. You know, I'm not sure about that. We'll see, I guess. So I think they're all dangerous fights at 154 with not that much reward from them if he wins in terms of kudos and building his profile. If he was to beat an Errol Spence, I think that would be a bigger deal in terms of boosting Brook's profile than beating an Erislandy Lara. Maybe not to the hardcore fans, but to the general public, I think it would be, because Errol Spence, remember, in his last fight against Leonard Bundu, he drew a larger audience than any boxer since in the United States since the 80s or 90s, I believe. And it wasn't all down to Errol Spence, don't get it twisted, but still, that was the case. He's certainly not pay-per-view yet, Errol Spence, but he's got a growing fan base in the United States, and there's definitely a buzz around him. Definitely a buzz around him. So I think even that fight, which is Brook's mandatory, which he gets a very favorable split, 75-25 in his favor, I think that would get him more plaudits and would boost his profile more than beating any of those current champions at 154. You know, right or wrong, I just think Errol Spence is more well known than those guys. And certainly if he was to beat the Keith Thurman Danny Garcia winner, I think that would be a much bigger deal in terms of boosting his profile than beating anybody at 154. And those fights are, I would say, certainly, I don't think that those fights are necessarily much more difficult than the fights at 154. They might even be easier. It can definitely be argued, but I don't know. Those guys at 154, man, I don't see any of them being easy for Kell Brook. I really don't. Brook at least has the size advantage over a lot of guys at 147. I think he's got the size advantage over Danny Garcia. I think he's probably got a size advantage over Keith Thurman. He's definitely got a size advantage over Pacquiao. Him and Errol Spence, he may have a slight size advantage over Spence, but I think Spence is a pretty good size welterweight himself. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not sure exactly how badly Kell Brook is struggling to make 147 pounds. I know he's struggling, but how badly is he struggling? You know, that's the question. Is it struggling to the point where he won't even be able to beat a mediocre world level fighter? Or can he still beat the likes of a Sean Porter if they were to have a rematch? You know, I don't know. This is a lot of speculation and I'm waffling at this point. But the point I'm making is I think Kell Brook, rather than relying on Khan constantly, because that's what he's been doing. He's been doing what Khan was doing with Mayweather. His whole career started to revolve around Mayweather, if you remember Amir Khan, for a while. And during that time, he should have been building his own legacy rather than trying to rely on Mayweather for his legacy. And I think Kell Brook would be wise to learn from that. Build your own legacy. Don't let it revolve around Khan. If Brook was to go beat an Errol Spence, it would boost his profile and it would gain him a lot of credibility, both with the casual fans and the hardcore fans. And it would start to make Khan look a bit more, you know, almost irrelevant. Because who's Khan fighting? If he fights the winner of Thurman Garcia, anything's possible in this crazy game of boxing, but I don't think he's going to beat the winner of Thurman Garcia. I don't see Khan winning that fight. So if Kell Brook, I certainly give Kell Brook a better chance of beating Errol Spence than I do of Khan beating the winner of Thurman Garcia. Some people may disagree with that, but that's just my particular view at the moment, especially given the damage Khan has taken in his last fight. So I don't know. Let me not long this video out too much. I just wanted to respond to some of the comments. I have to say I agree with Eddie Hearn. I think Khan is looking for a tune-up fight right now. And unless he's getting paid crazy money, then he's not willing to entertain anything else. Yeah, which is what the 70-30 is really all about. It's really saying, look, I don't really want that Kell Brook fight right now. It's dangerous. I'm coming off a layoff, a hand injury, a knockout, a terrible knockout defeat. I'm kind of overweight, so on and so forth. So unless you're giving me an offer I can't refuse, then I'm going to have to pass for now. Eddie Hearn seems confident that the fight between Brook and Khan will still take place this year, but, you know, more towards the back end of the year. I guess we'll see. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about everything I talked about in this video. It's that man, I'm out.